I was used to be called by headhunters, offering new positions in London, in Paris. And then I decided to put everything, all this experience, this knowledge to the garbage and to create something completely new. The fact is, when you are passionate, and it was my case, you know a lot about, in this case, cars, because when I had time, I was already doing some research, trying to find some new cars. And so, in fact, I was just doing in Ascot what I was already doing as a hobby.
Hi, this is Maximilian Büsser, founder of MBNF. To me, watchmaking is art, with a capital A. It is a quest for beauty and humanity, where mechanical complexity meets ideas and design, constantly testing the limits of creativity. These kinetic sculptures are always much more than the sum of their parts. Every watch tells its own story of adventurers and dreamers, from the engineers and artists that conceive them to the special individuals who own them. Some of those along the watchmaking journey are rebels and mavericks, and most share a little touch of madness. The MBNF tribe of collectors is full of such individuals. Many have amazing lives and stories to tell, and that is why I decided to start this podcast. Today, I'm so glad to welcome Xavier Micheron, a former banker who followed his passion for car racing and quit after 20 years his career to create Ascot Collection, one of the leading connoisseurs in historic racing and classic road cars. Welcome, Xavier, to Tales from the Tribe, our MBNF podcast.
Thank you, Max. Glad to discuss with you today.
Great to have you. I know you've just come back from an absolutely insane weekend at Spa at the racing track where it was raining cats and dogs. So we're going to go directly into cars and driving questions. So talking about cats and dogs, it's said that dog owners often resemble their dogs. Which car do you think you most closely resemble and why?
Maybe a very, very strange car, which is a Hornet TX, which is a car powered by a helicopter turbine, which raced in Le Mans and Daytona in '68. It was a crazy car, but at the end, it's quite simple. So it's a little bit like me, a little bit crazy, but someone quite simple at the end.
That's a pretty incredible story, that one guy in the 60s thought it was a great idea to put a helicopter turbine in a racing car. And I think there were two cars made?
Yeah, they entered two cars in Le Mans in '68. They built a little bit more cars, but as we know, finally it was not a great success. But it's still a very fun car to see racing. And I have the only one which is really ready to race. And I've been entering this car many times in Le Mans Classic, for instance. And always it's a big attraction because the car is superb. It's a very pretty car. And also there are some very large exhausts. And it's really something special. So I like saying that I'm a little bit like this car.
I get that. Do you prefer racetracks or do you prefer driving on open roads?
To be honest, I really love the romantic of driving on a mountain road. You see, it's really something I like everybody. But for me, the circuit is really something special. It's, I would say, a scene full of glory and tragedy in a certain way. And also it is a rendezvous with myself because I have to drive. And driving means going fast, being reasonable, and also so it's a fight between me and the car sometimes. It's something emotional, but also I have always to be quite, I would say, professional in the way I'm driving. And that's exactly what I try to do. That's why I try to learn driving, increasing my skills with my coach. And that's really something very interesting because I start racing finally very late. I was maybe 30 when I I started racing.
And is there any historical race you have not done which you really would like to do?
Yes, there is one, which is Monterrey on Laguna Seca in August. It is a very special one because this is really the car week in California in August. And there is this race. It is really a nice one with very beautiful cars with nice history. And people are coming from all the USA to enter a car. So there is really something I would like to do there. And I've been there with Sophie as a spectators. But next, we would like to enter a car and to race there.
And coming back to open roads, is there, as you have driven a lot of places, is there an open road you could advise for petrol heads to try?
Yeah, I think there is a very nice one in France, which is Route Napoléon, starting in Grenoble and finishing in Cannes. And that's really something to do. And in USA, I really love Highway 1. That's really something special. Very, very nice, pretty view. So it's really something I love to do, for sure.
So I have a horrible experience of La Route Napoléon. I was like 19 or 20. I had a 50 horsepower Opel Corsa and I couldn't overtake anything. And I was always blocked behind lorries. So the Route Napoléon for me is a little bit tricky, but I completely understand how beautiful it is. So let's come back to actually your story. You made a very bold move from finance to your passion, which is racing cars. But before we go into that, maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself, who you were as a youngster, where did you grow up, what sort of kid were you?
Well, I have two brothers, and I'm the younger one. I grew up in near Paris, in the suburb. And I studied in Paris, so I would say I am like a Parisian. And now I'm living not very far because I am in Versailles, very close to Versailles. And for me, it's a good balance between being near a city, a big city, and being closer to the forest and the nature. So that's a place I like to be.
And so when you were growing up, did you always dream of cars, or is that something which came later on in life?
Yeah, I would say it came quite early. And I guess thanks to my brother, my older brother, because he was really passionate by race cars. And then all started at Le Mans in 81. I was 14 years old. With my brother and my father, we have been to Le Mans, and it was like a shock because the noise, I had never attempted to any races. So it was really powerful for a young boy like me. And also I was very impressed by the fact the drivers were driving at night. And when I had to go to bed, I was thinking they are still maybe on the Mulsanne Strait at 400 kilometers per hour, because at that time there were no chicane and the car were driving very, very fast at Le Mans. So it was really something special, and I would say all started there. And then when I started working and earn a little bit money, I started collecting Le Mans cars, because for me Le Mans is really something special. And in Ascot collection, most of the cars have a Le Mans history.
That's the place where it all started. I must admit, Le Mans is an insane race where, as you said, you've got cars driving at 400 kilometers an hour and cars only going at 250. And they're overtaking each other in the middle of the night. It's a wild race.
Absolutely, it is. And by the way, Le Mans Classic, which replicate Le Mans 24 hours with, I would say, classic cars, is a little bit wild. So because there is the same kind of speed difference on the straight, and also I would say all the pilots do not have the same talent. So it's still a very tricky race, but it's absolutely fantastic to have the opportunity to race on this track with the old car, because finally at the end I'm driving the car I was seeing when I was a boy. So it's absolutely fantastic. It's really unique in terms of experience, and it's very emotional.
You worked a normal job, which is a pretty high-powered job, by the way, like 20 years in finance. And in 2013, if I'm not wrong, you quit all that and create Ascot Collection. I love stories of people having a great day job who suddenly quit everything and launched their company. So it was my story, so it really resonates with me. So share with me maybe the tipping point. What's the aha moment? What's the moment where you say, okay, you know what? This is it. I'm not going to be a banker anymore.
That was completely crazy because I was taken by surprise. I was sitting in a concert hall and with the audience, and I was waiting for the conductor. And then I saw the conductor arriving, and I had a sudden realization that becoming a conductor had never been an option during all my life. So it was really something strange because I realized that it had never been an option to become an artist, for instance. And it was really something special. And I said by surprise because I was going to listen music. And now I was in a situation where I was asking myself, well, you are working in investment banking and maybe you could have done something else. And all starts there, I would say. And then I decided to quit the bank and to launch my own company. And I wanted to be more free, to have less responsibilities, to manage less people, I would say, in a certain way, and to do less politics. I would say no politics. It was one of my main targets, in fact. And also, I decided to try something new, to be pushed by my passion instead of being pushed by, I would say, earning money and having a boring life. Because at the end, it was getting more and more boring. Every year, I had to restart, and I had the feeling I was doing all the time the same thing. So I'm a very positive guy, and I always want to have new projects. And I have to say also it was after the market crisis, and the market and the bank was not in such a good position. And so it was quite not very positive being in this industry at that time. And I don't like to stay in a situation where it's not positive. I always prefer to move and go forward, and it was a big risk. And also, to be honest, it was really strange because I was quite good at doing this job. And, it was a little bit special to say, okay, I have all this knowledge. I was used to be called by headhunters, offering new positions in London, in Paris. And then I decided to put everything, all this experience, this knowledge to the garbage and to create something completely new. The fact is, when you are passionate, and it was my case, you know a lot about, in this case, cars. And because when I had time, I was already doing some research, trying to find some new cars. And so, in fact, I was just doing in Ascot what I was already doing as a hobby. So that's the way it is. That's why it was not so difficult to launch this company, and it was risky in a certain way. And but it was a great experience, and I'm happy to have done it for sure.
So what is Ascot Collection? What actually have you created? What have you done over the last 12 years now?
At the beginning, it was really having my own collection and to put my car in a company and to make it possible to restore them, sometimes maybe to sell a car, to finance a new project or to finance the acquisition of a new car. Then I had my website, and as I knew many people in this community, some of my friends told me, maybe you could also sell our cars. And then I started also doing a little bit brokerage. And at present time, we have the two activities, I would say, the managing of my own collection, meaning buying cars, sourcing cars, restoring the cars and racing those cars, and also a purely broker activity, which means selling the cars from our clients.
And when you started, were there any hairy, complicated movements, or did it sort of work pretty seamlessly at the beginning?
I think it was difficult for me, myself, and for the other people. Because, I was already racing in historic racing. But I was simply a competitor. Then I became a professional. And for myself, it was a little bit strange to see my relationship changing with other people, because I was known as a professional, and I was in the business at the end, and so it was a big change. Like the global condition changes a lot.
It's something I've seen. Actually, it's interesting because I've seen a certain amount of watch lovers who wanted to actually make a living out of it and became traders. And when it becomes a business, it's complicated to keep the passion, because then suddenly it becomes numbers and you get a little bit blasé. So I know you're super passionate. How come you've kept that passion even though it is a business?
I see exactly what you mean. The fact is, Ascot collection is really something special, because I source cars. I have the cars restored most of the time in the UK, and then I race the cars. Every time it's a new experience, because when I launched Ascot collection, I was driving cars from the 50s. It was the gorgeous Lister Nobly with the Jag engine. Then I had the Costin Nobly, designed by Costin in order to increase the top speed in Le Mans. Then a Lotus 15, and now I'm driving LMP1 cars from 2010. So it's, I would say, a big change in terms of experience and knowledge. So the way the passion is still there is because I'm still trying to find the right car for me first, and also we have fantastic weekends during the races. It's a great community. I am with friends. Sophie, my wife, is with us. We have good time on the track, good time off track. So I'm a very happy man.
And Sophie, your wife, works with you, if I'm not wrong.
Absolutely.
That is that a challenge? Not because it's Sophie, but working with your wife, what are the advantages? What are the difficulties?
She was working. She had another position before. We realized that with Ascot collection, we were traveling a lot in USA, in Japan, in Dubai, for racing, for sourcing cars. And so we are very free to travel together. And that's why it's very nice to have Sophie with me. And in this kind of business, it's very important to trust the person you work with. And again, I'm working with Sophie, but also with many other people.
Let's come back to collecting. So what kind of collector are you? Are you a hoarder? Are you somebody who only goes for a specific model, a specific era? I hear you've evolved. How has that evolved? Who are you on that level?
I would say I'm always looking for the underdog. Like the Homet was something very special, but this car raced in the USA and it was very fast and it won a race. even if it was a turbine car. He raced and won against Ford GT40, Porsche 910, which were the very fast cars in period. And also I always try to find the car which was very special. And one of them now is one of my favorite car in the collection is a new car, quite new, modern, I would say, because it is from 2004. And it's a DBA. They built only 3 cars with a Zytec engine. And it was developed by a small team in the UK. And this car was raced and driven by Nicolas Minassian, a French driver. And this car was really difficult for the ODA 8 because the ODA 8 was the top car, the queen of endurance for many years. And this very small team developed a small car, very light, which was very, very fast. And they did lots of podium, lots of top 1, 2, 3 qualification. And I like this kind of stories, the small team which going to challenge the big Audi, the big company.
We love those stories. Now, as a collector, I'll share something personal. I've got this terrible self-imposed rule now that my watch collection is way too big, is that I need to sell a watch when I buy a watch. And it is becoming so tough to let watches go when I buy a new one. How do you let go? Because that's the whole point of Ascot collection. You buy these cars, you restore them, you race them, and then you have to let them go. How does that work emotionally?
It is a heartbreaker, for sure. Every time I sell a car of the collection, it's really something emotional and difficult. So I'm happy when it goes, and I make sure it goes to in a good home. That's very important. And also, if I sell a car, that means I'm going to buy another one. So I'm going to have a new project. And at the end, all in. It's I hope, always a good move. But to be honest, there are so many cars I would like to still to have in the collection, that's for sure.
So that's a great segue. What's the Grail? Do you have any Grails, the ones you think, maybe you will never have them, but what would be a Grail for Xavier Micheron?
For me, it will be a Jaguar D-Type. For sure, it's one of the prettiest car in the world. And the Ferrari P4 is also absolutely fantastic. A car which won Le Mans in 1967, the year I was born. And the design is absolutely fantastic. And more modern cars, I would say Peugeot 905, because it was like a Formula One with a roof. And it was a French car. It won Le Mans in 92, 93. So for me, those cars are really absolutely the top.
I hope you get them. The P4 will be a little bit complicated. They made 2? No, 1?
To be honest, I don't know exactly.
I think the P4, they were like, there are like 2 left or 3 left in the world. Are there any cars you've had in the last 13 years, and this is just for the public to understand, that you feel were misunderstood or that they deserve to be much better known today?
I think there is one small French brand, which was Venturi, which is really, I would say, unknown. And they did some very, very good cars. They did race cars and also road cars. And the philosophy of this small French company was to build cars to race in Le Mans. So even the road cars had the Le Mans chassis, in fact. So they were not very successful because the engine was, they had twin turbo engines and the electronic was very poor. So they broke lots of engines. So the cars were not very reliable in Le Mans. But it was really there were one of them, which was the French F40, because it was looking like a Ferrari F40 a little bit. And I think, this brand should be That's quite interesting and has very nice history. It has been launched by a passionate, and finally they disappeared. So that's something that happens.
And so I've been lucky enough to go to Le Mans Classique, and I was blown away because you see 1, 2, 5, 10, $20 million cars being driven like hell over the circuit. And some of them, they're like, as we said, maybe 3, 4 left in the world. How do you balance the fact of the preservation of such rare vehicles and the craziness of competition? How does that work?
That's a good question because, as you can expect, the more a car is driven, the more parts needs to be replaced. So if you really want to preserve a car, the best is not to put it on track because it can be destroyed. And so that's why many cars are not really raced anymore because they would suffer from racing for, let's say, 40 minutes at full speed. Also, it's a funny question because every time I'm taking part to a race, I think, okay, be quiet, don't crash the car. It's a high value car, and I put the helmet and okay, I go full throttle. And I know all my friends, we are the same. Before the race, we say, okay, the car is fully restored. It's absolutely perfect. And as soon as we start racing, it's a race. And it's quite interesting to mention that historic racing is real racing. If you watch those races, and now you can see with Peter Otto, and they have a live streaming, you can see the level of the competition is very high, and it's you can see some very nice action on track.
Talking about action, have you made any mistakes? Have you had some really hairy moments on the track?
Yeah, one. I try not to have. That's why I'm still learning, but I think when I really started, I was doing many mistakes, and I was crazy because I was driving very fast cars, and I had no knowledge. And at the beginning, I think I was like a little bit dangerous for myself and for the other ones. And then I realized that it was very interesting to learn how to drive those cars. And there is a lot to learn from a coach from this point of view. And that's really something I push my friend to try to increase their performance by learning how to brake, where to put the hyzes. And now I'm drive much more faster than before, and also it's very safe. So that's for me, it's a great achievement.
So would you say now you're the same age as I am, at this very tender age, you're the best driver you've ever been?
Absolutely, and that's a great achievement, because, for instance, at Spa, I was challenged because I had to start at the back of the grid due to a regulation because we changed the team because my coach did some laps and then I wanted to race alone. So the regulation stipulate I had to start at the back, and I finished top 6. So, it was like very demanding, but also very challenging to pass all those cars and to finish not so far from the podium.
And in very, very bad rain conditions. With how powerful was your car at Spa?
It was the Nissan, the Group C Nissan, and it was very powerful. This car, in those conditions, I put the map at 0, meaning that I had only 650 horsepower. But normally we have up to 850 horsepower, depending on the pressure, the turbo pressure.
So you won a championship. You won a championship in 2019, the Endurance Racing Legends Proto A class. I don't exactly know what that means. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, in fact, it was the beginning of a long series because I started being in top 3 in 19 and last year I finished again top 3. So it was, it's a series where we are racing LMP1s and LMP900s, meaning open cars from Le Mans from 2000 to 2005. So those cars are already very fast, and and the ODA rate was really the I would say the supercar in period.
And so you said when you put on your helmet, you just go full throttle. I mean, some of these races are an hour, 2 hours or more. What goes through your mind? Is there anything else except for the next curve?
You would be surprised, but sometimes I'm thinking about my wife, or I'm thinking about how happy I am to drive. You know, I'm really like, in fact, it's very emotional because for sure, I concentrate on the braking point and so on. But, you know, for instance, on the straight, you have lots of time to relax, to drink a little bit, and to think about how happy you are, especially when you are in Le Mans and you're going to arrive at Mulsanne and all the crowd is there. It's fantastic. It's like a dream.
So you're daydreaming at 350 or 400 kilometers an hour on driving a car. That's normal for you.
Yeah, exactly. Because in fact, you are just enjoying, because when you are driving, all the emotions are very strong. And then if you love someone, or you, for sure, I love many people. So it's crazy, but I think to them when I'm driving. So that's crazy, but that's true.
We'll just switch gears, coming to the end of this podcast. So we're incredibly grateful to count you, Xavier, as a tribe member with a Legacy Machine 1 that you purchased a few years back. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
MBNF and me is a long story. All started by listening radio. I was listening to radio, and there was someone, Max, interviewed, and you were talking about creating watches, and the background was Goldorak, was Capitan Flamme, and I thought, wow, that's fantastic. And then I Googled MBNF, and to be honest, I fell in love with the brand. Then I discovered HM3, HM4 you were talking about during this interview. And then you launched HM6. And for me, it's the Holy Grail for me. I would like to have a HM6. And I remember when we spoke on phone, you said, Xavier, an HM6 is really something special. You have to, I mean, it's a special watch. And I said, because you didn't know me at this time, I said, Max, no problem. You know, I'm driving a turbine car. I think I will manage having a watch with 2 turbines on it. It will be fine for me. And I love this brand. And one day I was on a track and I saw a man on a very nice motorbike. And it had an aluminium tank, a fantastic tank. And I saw MBNF on it. And I said to the guy, hey, you know this brand? Oh, yes, I'm Serge. So your partner. And I said, oh, I love this brand. And it was the beginning of a friendship with Serge also. So for me, MBNF is really something special. And to be honest, every time you launch a new watch, I want to have this watch. Just opening the email is an emotion for me. Like I'm pretty sure all the other people who are receiving your emails. And what is very special for me with MBF is the volume. It's really, for me, it was the big impact because for the first time, it was completely different. And all those watches have a very special volume. Each watch is a small world. When you look at it on different angles, it's like a living watch, really. And, I was collecting a little bit. I had several Roger Dubuis. And also I was interested, I was following Haute-Lance. But I have to say, when I discovered MBF, it was really a shock, to be honest. And I still, my plan is one day to have a HM6 for sure.
We're very, very honored. And I think as you said, the guy who races with a car with a helicopter turbine powering it up clearly needs an HM6 on his wrist. So thank you very much. Now, just before we end, I like to ask a question from our guests, which happens, I think, when we get older, is looking back. You've had an amazing career. You've had an incredible entrepreneurship, and you live your passion, and that's pretty rare. So, if you're going to meet your younger self, like Xavier at 20 years old, is there any advice or you would give yourself?
Yes, I think there are several things I would do maybe differently. Maybe not to be so hard with myself and the other one, because when I see in the past, maybe I was too difficult with myself and with other people because my expectations were very, very high. And sometimes maybe I was a little bit rude with myself and in a certain way, because it's a kind of violence to be in this mood. But also, it was a very strong engine, and trying to always be better, to keep the momentum, and to try to try to find a kind of perfection is also something very strong. And I think it's also extremely important to lose time, because at the end I was very impatient. And I think one of the most important things in our world to do today is to have nothing to do, because we are so busy. We are always on the phone, and I think for sure I would say that the young guy I was will say to the Xavier I am now, okay, maybe you should lose time and take time to think about something, just having nothing to do. And so that's it.
Thank you so much, Xavier. I think that concludes so well our talk. I really enjoyed it. So that brings us to the end of today's episode. Thank you for joining us. We hope you've enjoyed our conversation with Xavier Micheron, and that you now have a greater understanding of his journey and the world of competitive racing cars. We'll soon be back for a conversation with another of our tribe members. If you enjoyed today's episode, remember to subscribe to our podcast so as not to miss our next conversations. Stay curious, keep exploring, and cherish your madness.